What's going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new JJ's One Man Podcast. I hope you all have been doing well. We're getting ready to go into the holiday season. We got new games coming out. We got new movies coming out. Everybody's starting to get into the holiday cheer, which is a fantastic thing. I love this time of the year, to be honest with you. It's the ending of the year. Everybody's starting to wind down. Everybody's starting to chill. Everybody's talking about holiday gifts, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it may be. Bottom line, it's a time to just relax. It's a time to reflect on the year and get ready eventually for the brand new year that's over the horizon, which is nice. So, a couple things to get into. We got a couple topics to discuss, a couple harsh things to talk about. But before we get into all of that, a few housekeeping things. Make sure you guys leave me a like on this video or this episode of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Show some love. Been putting out a lot of videos, including a lot of podcast episodes. And by the way, YouTube Shorts. I've been uploading a lot of those lately, and it's been about a whole bunch of different things related to games, related to movies, related to a whole bunch of stuff. But go check those out. There's playlists on the channel. All of that is organized for you, and let me know if you enjoy it all. Keep in mind, too, I'm doing this episode right now. I'm actually recording this like before 7 o'clock in the morning, earlier in the week, Wednesday. The main reason being is because later this week, in a couple days actually, is the Game Awards. And I'm going to do a Game Awards episode exclusively just on the Game Awards, like reactions. So all the winners, all the world premiere stuff that we get to see, probably the day afterwards, because the Game Awards happens in the evening. But I'm going to do that episode solely for that. So I'm getting all this other stuff out of the way beforehand. So you guys are going to get hopefully a double episode this week or into this weekend. But let me know your thoughts about all that down below in the comment section. Tell me some of the stuff that you want to see at the Game Awards. Tell me about some of the responses and thoughts that you have to all the topics we're going to get into today, because there's a couple things I want to get into, right? So first things first, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6. This trailer just happened. Big reveal. It was a little bit weird because the trailer leaked out a little bit early, according to some sources, and people saw this on Twitter, which is a shame. I felt a little bad for the Rockstar devs, and they were pretty pissed off. But after that, though, we got this new trailer, which was awesome. Let's be real here. Grand Theft Auto 6 looks fantastic. I mean, granted, it's the first time we're seeing this game, but if everything in the game is living up to what they showed, that game is going to be dope. It's going to be super good. I'm talking real good. And the cool thing is about it is that Rockstar is known for its quality. Like, every time we've seen a Rockstar game, whether it was Grand Theft Auto, whether it was Bully, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne, all this stuff, you always knew that it was going to be some level of high bar of quality. Like, it was always going to be good. You never really had a garbage Rockstar game, as far as I can remember. Like, I'm trying to really think hard about it. Like, I can't really think of a game that was done by Rockstar that was absolute trash. They've always had like some sort of pedigree, to be honest with you. And this one with Grand Theft Auto 6 seems to be following suit. But overall, I've written a couple things about Grand Theft Auto 6 over on .esports, a couple lists about some of the stuff we saw in the trailer, which was good. Some of the best stuff that we saw, Easter eggs, reactions to it, all that jazz. And on top of that, I also wrote a whole article, a listicle on .esports about the 10 best vehicles in the Grand Theft Auto series prior to the trailer dropping, because there's a lot of vehicles in Grand Theft Auto, and I had a lot of fun talking about all that stuff. So go check that out whenever you can. It's been floating around the internet here and there, but I put it up on my social media. If you're not following me on Twitter, by the way, you should be following me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, because I've been posting up a lot of stuff there. Every time there's a brand new thing that goes out, it's usually up there following, as well as also same thing with TikTok and Instagram. But either way, Grand Theft Auto 6 got a lot of people excited. It didn't matter that the trailer leaked early. Rockstar was like, hey, look, our trailer leaked early, so here's the full thing for you. And it was like, you know what? Even with all that, people really enjoyed that trailer, and people are genuinely excited, which is awesome, which is great, which is really, really freaking cool. So that game, unfortunately, though, is coming out in 2025, according to the trailer, which is a long wait. But understand, like, when you're trying to make a meal, when you're trying to make fine dining, when you're trying to make a work of art, okay, it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a while. It's going to take some time. So I don't mind waiting through 2024 for Grand Theft Auto 6 to be good in 2025. If it means that it actually gets more polished, it actually is to the vision that Rockstar wants to see it at. If it's at the level of quality that we're accustomed to from Rockstar, I got no problem with that. Take all the time that you need. They've taken a while already, but take that extra time just to make it phenomenal. Not just make it great, make it phenomenal. Make it epic, which is what I really feel like it's going to be. And keep in mind, too, Grand Theft Auto 6 is taking place in Vice City, which is like an entire parody of Miami. And in that trailer alone, they had a bunch of stuff that was just like straight up pulls of things that have happened down here in Florida, in Miami specifically. A lot of viral sensations, a lot of big news things that they were spoofing. So that was pretty pretty funny to see. But anyway, right? So Grand Theft Auto 6 is dope. Now, hopefully, once we get the game in hand, it'll be every bit as amazing as we thought. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about Grand Theft Auto 6 down in the comments. Again, I saw some of the reactions online on Twitter, on X, on TikTok. I saw the reactions, even on YouTube. People are hyped, and deservedly so. That game looks like it's going to be awesome. So, moving on from Grand Theft Auto, because there's not really much else to say about GTA 6 at the moment, until we get to see the game again eventually down the line. Let's talk about this new Star Wars movie that's focusing on Rey Skywalker, or Rey. Pretty much, there was some news going around that this new movie is going to be starting its shoot or starting its filming in April 2024. This came from a posting that was on, I forgot the exact website, but it's one of these databases that show when a lot of big budget Hollywood films are going into production, certain actual info about them, their producers, the studios that it's going to be produced by or published by, all this stuff. And a lot of people started reporting on it. And it was a lot of people also in different trades, some of the big trades, the big websites that were actually posting up this info and sharing it around and discussing it. The only one that I saw that was really not feeling that and said that it wasn't true was StarWarsNews.net or Star Wars Newsnet. And they said that that stuff that, according to their sources, is completely inaccurate. There isn't even really a script for it and a few other pieces that haven't really fallen into place yet. So they don't think that they're going to start shooting in April. They said that realistically, maybe in summer of 2024, that they might be start shooting. But either way, there's a lot of conflicting info all over the place. A lot of places are saying it's going. A lot of places saying that it's not, based on these different reports and different postings around. Personally, for me, while I've always said that the Star Wars movie that's focusing on Rey is not really a project that anybody has wanted, it at least is something that they're moving forward with. However, I don't know if I necessarily believe that this movie is going to start shooting in April, because it wasn't that far long ago that they really announced this, and maybe they've been working on it behind the scenes on the down low and haven't actually talked about it or really had a lot of movement for people to really report on it. There's always that possibility, but we just got this announced at Star Wars Celebration this year, and I feel like if they had a script and things were solidified, we probably would have heard about it way before then. I understand that some people have even felt, and I've seen a couple of YouTubers mention this and different channels say this, that they never believed that this was actually going to happen. And according to Lucasfilm's track record, can you really blame anybody for feeling that way? We lost a movie that they showed at Star Wars Celebration, an actual teaser. Well, I shouldn't say teaser. It was actually a hype reel that involved Patty Jenkins, that she was going to do the Rogue Squadron movie. They seemed like they were really getting behind it. This whole produced, really high quality thing that got everybody excited. And all of a sudden the movie's just gone. And, there was also the Lord and Miller project. There was the Kevin Feige project, which I've talked about. It was how do you drop the ball on that? That just seems like there was a lot of behind the scenes nonsense or politics that were going on that just completely just ruined that from ever happening. It doesn't make any sense. When you got one of the best producers in the game in Hollywood, you got an opportunity to get involved with him, and you just don't want that to happen. That's just crazy to me. But regardless, though, there was a lot of different reasons of why people felt this Rey movie might not happen. So maybe there's movement on it. Maybe there's not. Hopefully, within the next couple of months, as we get closer to April, we start to see something more concrete, whether that's true or not. If it's actually going to go into production, I expect at least at some point we might get some leaked photos, probably from the set. Maybe we get some other documents that point to this, but we'll know eventually once we get into 2024. I feel like that'll be eventually the time when we actually get to see some more concrete details of what this is, and maybe an exact title. Keep in mind, this Star Wars project doesn't even have a title yet, so that's another reason why I feel like this isn't as far along as people are saying. maybe it needs a little bit more time to cook in the oven, but who knows? We'll see what happens when we get to 2024. So that's that stuff. Eventually, I'm pretty sure other people are going to report on it as we go along. But let's talk about something else, right? Because the Game Awards are coming up in the next few days. Let's talk about this open letter that came from the previous year's Game Awards future class members, okay? Because I feel like this is important to talk about. I'm taking a sip of my coffee so I don't choke, right? So if you didn't see this, okay, Kotaku reported on this. I saw that Steven Totilo reported on this, that he did it over at, I think it's at Axis or Coaxis, one of the websites that he's at now. He reported on this, and basically the members of the Games Awards future class from previous years had made an open letter to Jeff Keighley and the rest of the team that's making the Game Awards for 2023, basically saying that they wanted them to have some sort of addressing of a lot of the issues that have been going on with the, in the news, specifically what's going on with Israel and Palestine, stuff that's going on in the Gaza Strip. And I'm not going to read the letter, but it's pretty much the gist of it is that they want them to have some sort of acknowledgement in some way, whether it's, Jeff Keighley getting on there on stage and talking about it, or having some sort of other thing that happens during the show. And the reason why this is happening, outside of it being a humanitarian crisis, was because at the Golden Joysticks prior to this, okay, the Golden Joysticks happened a couple weeks ago, I believe. There was somebody that came out named Megan Janeth that came out and said that, look, she was originally going to present Best Storytelling Award, but she ended up backing out of it because one of the things that she was told, and everybody else that was told at the Golden Joysticks, was that there will be no political statements allowed during the course of the award ceremony. And that angered her. That's why she backed out, and they ended up replacing her, I believe, with Troy Baker. And I think I talked about this at some point, in one of my previous episodes. But that happened prior to it. But this Game Awards open letter happened, in the wake of all that. And they made almost kind of a couple calls. I would even look at it as a few demands, saying that, what is it here? I'm trying to look at the exact quote, okay? This comes from the actual open letter, okay? With the current state of the games industry, silence is a message, silence is a tacit support, silence is dehumanizing of Palestinian lives. The games industry to invest resources and work against its systematic dehumanization of people from Southwest Asia and North Africa, to express support for the protection of Palestinian human rights, and call for a long-term ceasefire before for more civilian lives are unjustly taken. That's what the statement pretty much was being called for. Okay, in the open letter. Okay, you could go find the exact open letter for what exactly it says all over the place. I think they shared it on X or Twitter, and you could find it in a lot of the reporting. So here's the thing that I want to talk about with this. And it's not about the actual issue that they're bringing up, because I feel like with the stuff going on with the, Israel, Palestine, Hamas, and all these other things, that stuff is so much more important than what we have and discuss in the games industry. I feel like there's a lot more qualified people that have been looking at that type of issue, which is a very complicated, very layered, very crazy issue that is much more suited for better people that have been following that for a very long time, that are into a lot of the political spectrum or the political discussions that are going on over there. This isn't the type of stuff that you really want to hear from either a podcaster on YouTube that just talks about games, let alone a games industry person, let alone anybody else. Now, I understand that there are some people that are very passionate about this. And lately, over the last under a decade, I feel like people in the games industry have tried to get more outspoken and more active, quote unquote, when it comes to these political discussions and things involving politics. I also feel like there's a lot of muddying of the discussions of these because of all these different emotions and stuff that gets thrown into the whole mix, right? That none of the issue about the actual issue out there is what we're talking about here, okay? Because I honestly have no opinion to share about it, because I don't think I'm qualified to actually really give an opinion about that. What I am qualified to talk about, however, is the idea of this type of stuff being at the Game Awards, and this type of stuff being a focal point of the Game Awards. And a bunch of other people, other shows that I've watched have said look, these issues are important, but there's a time and place for them. And I don't know if necessarily the Game Awards is really the time and place to really tackle these issues. Because honestly, I look at this open letter and I look at some of the statements that they've made. There's a couple of other things in there where they're saying that the games industry has this systematic problem with stuff like this, which I find as to be a really weird statement, because, I want to know what type of games, other than the ones that people have pointed to, in recent memory saying that like, oh, it promotes a lot of this like, really messed up things, related to this crisis going on over there. Because I haven't seen it. I play more games than most other people, than a lot of other people, even arguably than most other people in the games industry itself. A lot of people in media, a lot of developers, because believe it or not, because everybody's time is so limited, sometimes a lot of people don't end up playing a lot of games as much as they want to because of work, because of development, because of other making types of like content, other things, other reasons that prevents them from doing so. So I could stack up the amount of games I play per year compared to a lot of others. But the point is, though, with all this stuff with the Game Awards, is that I feel like people are just trying to bring this up and they're trying to say this and they want this to be like spotlighted at the Game Awards almost for like a grandstanding reason. Like they want to grandstand on there because they want to show this is the type of stance that they take about this. And I don't know if the Game Awards is the right spot to do that, let alone it's appropriate, because that puts a lot of people, specifically Jeff Keighley, in this weird spot. Because I think in this case, he's in a no-win scenario. Because he could take the approach like the golden joysticks and not have any of that stuff happen. Like, and it's not just Jeff Keighley's decision. It's really the committee, him and everybody else that works on that show to make this choice. They could come out and say, okay, no political discussions with any of these issues on there because we want to keep it focused on the games. I could understand that. I could totally understand why. But he ends up doing something like that, or if he ends up doing something like that, you're going to have all these people in the industry just be upset and just mad and just raging on social media, getting at Jeff because they feel like he's taking a stance one way or another. And then on the flip side of this is that if he goes and actually does maybe like a monologue or something at the start of the show, then you're going to have everybody else like mad at him. You're going to have everybody else saying like, oh, he kind of gave in to these demands. He's taking the spotlight away from the games and focusing on other stuff that has nothing to do with anything that the show is supposed to focus on. You're trying to shoehorn or be obnoxious with these opinions about political issues that a lot of people are really just not trying to hear at that moment. And it doesn't dilute the importance of the issues. But really, again, I keep going back to this. What is appropriate at the moment for this show? Is the Game Awards really the outlet and the place to really just kind of harp on these issues or put these issues at the forefront like that? Because in years past, they haven't really done that a lot. I mean, you could say when the whole thing happened within our industry where there was a lot of people getting outed for various different, bad issues, including some crimes, including some, really messed up stuff. That's one thing, but that was never really like a giant global political issue. I don't think that the Game Awards in previous years, or even when they were known as the VGAs, when they were at Spike, they really highlighted or really focused on stuff like that. That's been more of a trend as of late. For people wanting to, or really certain industry folk really wanting to see a lot of that. And again, I feel like it's more about grandstanding and more about showboating towards their colleagues as opposed to really addressing the issues and tackling them head on. Because I would even make an argument, and I would totally understand someone making an argument that a lot of these people that are really commenting on this stuff don't understand the full spectrum of the problem, or don't understand the full spectrum of opinions and stances and perspectives on why this whole issue is complex and really layered and really complicated for many people. Hence why it's been an ongoing issue for 40, 50 plus years, a lot longer than that, a long freaking time overall. It's something that's really, really messed up. And again, I don't envy Jeff Keighley, or any of the people on the team that have to come to a decision on how they're going to approach this. Because no matter what they do or what Jeff does, I feel like he is going to be vilified in some way. He's going to take the brunt of it. And I don't think he deserves that. I think it's messed up. I get it. He's the front-facing person of the entire show. I mean, he's the host. It's Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards to a lot of people, even though he doesn't make all the decisions. But still, it's such a shame because I don't think he intended for any of that to become a focal point. It's all this is completely out of his doing. And even when he was doing a Q&A about the Game Awards stuff, because he did it about a week and change ago, where he actually got on a stream and started talking to people and started, commenting and answering questions about the entire show, the process. And he does this every year. And there's always those groups of people that really try to get at him for one reason or another about the show. And I don't envy him when he has to face this type of stuff on top of all that. It's a real pain in the butt, I can imagine. But hopefully, fingers crossed, they at least come to a decision that at least there's some middle ground or there's some compromise. If not, whatever it is specifically they want to do, whatever's best for the show. Because either way, personally for me, whether they decide to do some sort of monologue with this or not, or some sort of like statement about this or not, I feel like, the focus should always be on the show and on the games that they're trying to highlight, the celebration of the games industry itself. That should really be the focal point of it more than anything else. So that's my opinion about that. I know that everybody else out there has a wide range of opinions and perspectives on this. Let me know some of yours down below in the comment section. Do you want the Game Awards to actually have some sort of statement about what's going on with Israel and Palestine? Do you want them to kind of quote unquote give into the demands of the future class? Do you think it was appropriate at all that the future class members or some of the future class members think that this was something that they should have done? Or sign like this open letter, let me know down in the comments, because I'm really curious, because I've heard both sides of this and I feel like there's no one easy answer, or at least there's no one way that everybody's going to unanimously be happy with this. It sounds like it can end up being a mess, but we'll know in the next few days. Hopefully it's for the better. So let's talk about one more thing. Okay. Now this is like an update to some of the craziness that had been going on the last couple weeks with Gerard Khalil. The Completionist, the Open Hand Foundation, the videos and more videos following what Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers and Carl Jobs actually put out, all their research, all this craziness. Okay, I've already talked about the majority of that stuff. So if you haven't seen a lot of that stuff or really kind of understand what's going on, go check out my previous episode of the podcast where I really got into it. I gave my opinion about the initial reportings from all that, which I still feel very strongly about. But we have some updates and a couple other things to discuss with it. We have more videos that came out from both Carl and Mudahar about not only the Open Hand Foundation in relation to Indieland and their charity streams, but also how it relates to this golf event that they did a while back, or at least they've been doing every year, that's also related to the Open Hand Foundation. And again, without getting too much into the weeds of like what exactly they were discussing, the real kind of like Cliff Notes version of it is that the Open Hand Foundation with these golf tournaments had been, generating money from those charity events, but not reporting them on their tax filings. Like somehow that money is just not accounted for according to open public tax filings, because charities have to have that stuff open to the public. And that's what they were looking at, and they were bringing up questions, and I feel like they were legit questions that they needed to bring up, to the point where now we get this other update. So it seems that the Open Hand Foundation, as of yesterday, okay, a reporting of December 4th, 2023, or December 5th, 2023, they actually donated about $600,000 to the AFTD, okay, so the Association for Frontal Temporal Degeneration, so pretty much dementia, the AFTD, okay, that foundation is what they donated, okay. Now, here's the thing with this. It's great that that money finally got donated. Apparently, it was sitting in a bank account, as what Gerard had said, sitting there for 10 years, okay? And a lot of the points that Carl and Mudahar brought up is that that money had lost some of its value over all that period of time. But that money was donated, okay? So that is what it is, okay? It's finally donated. Now, here's the other problem, right? Here's the other stuff that we have to talk about, and we have to be honest with ourselves about this. This only happened. This money was finally donated after all this controversy happened. After Carl and Mudahar made their videos and actually started asking some very serious questions that I believe not only Gerard didn't have the answers to, but also the Open Hand Foundation didn't have the ability to answer as well, at least in a very legit way, in a way that was satisfactory. Until finally now, I'm guessing they were talking with lawyers, that they were talking behind the scenes for like what, about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, that all this stuff blew up. I want to say about 2.5 weeks more than anything. So that all this blew up, that they finally found, okay, they finally quote unquote found an actual spot to donate all the money, which ended up being the same one that they kept talking about all this time, okay? But the point is that none of this happened until all this had happened prior to it. All this controversy came up and all these videos were made about them. And honestly, Gerard looked like a fool when he was actually being questioned about it. You know, and I think this also makes him look a little bit more like a fool and very, very suspect and untrustworthy, that now it took all of this to donate that money from all the Indieland streams, all the bits and stuff that were generated, all the different donations from various companies, which I'm going to be honest with you, like I said in my previous episode when I talked about this, some of those companies and some of those publishers that Gerard was working with the Open Hand and Indieland like that, I'm pretty sure they all felt a type of way about this. And I wouldn't be surprised if that association and Gerard got a lot of messages, emails, and questions about this that led to them finally donating this money. But that, again, that doesn't also account for a lot of the money that was brought up by both Carl and Mudahar that wasn't reported on those tax filings. So there's still money missing out there that is just not accounted for, that nobody has an explanation for at the current moment anyway. But again, I go back to the fact that all of this only happened after this controversy went down. And I cannot begrudge any organization or any other person out there, fan or not, of the Completionist, if they never trust Gerard or the Open Hand Foundation with any sort of like charity thing ever again. Because all this controversy put things into a very harsh perspective for a lot of people. And it really brought up questions that I don't think a lot of people were really comfortable with asking, or really wanted to face the truth with, especially being faced with all these numbers that were public filings. Because look at the reaction that Carl and Mudahar got, especially from YouTubers that were friends of Gerard, that were completely out of pocket. I mean, somebody look for a muzzle for Pro Jared, to be honest with you. Make sure that homeboy doesn't say anything stupid again, compared to what he just did recently when those videos first came out, because that was stupid. I said it in my last episode, but that was ridiculous. Clearly showing you didn't watch any of that stuff, and clearly showing that you did put no effort and no honest, input, or not input, but honest, effort to look into this stuff when it all came out. It didn't matter for some of those people, especially Pro Jared, that the public filings were public, okay, that anybody could have access to them, that a lot of this was numbers based, and it's very hard to find any sort of subjective, perspective or outlook when it comes to numbers and stuff like tax filings and all these other things. It was more based on emotions, some of these reactions, rather than taking a step back and looking at the facts that were being presented before everybody. So in the wake of all this, now that some of this money or a good chunk of this money has been donated, the original amount that came up first before all these other videos came out afterwards, in the wake of all that being donated, some people are going to be like, okay, so the controversy and the drama is done, right? Not really, because that other stuff that was brought up with the Open Hand Foundation and their golf events, that still needs to be explored. And I still feel very similar to how Carl and Mudahar felt, that the IRS or some sort of organization should go through and audit them. Because I still think that there's a lot of stuff that is so easy, according to these guys, it was so easy to find through those public tax filings, that it should be explored. It should be questioned. It should be explored enough, because, again, no organization and nobody out there should take 10 years or nearly 10 years to finally donate the money that they said they were going to donate after gathering it for so long. And I don't want to hear this explanation about, they wanted to get to $1 million. They wanted to have much more, to have a big splash, to get all the news headlines and stuff. It's like, no, we're not going to take that excuse, because we have all this stuff that is piled on over the last few weeks. And honestly, it has not looked good for a very long time. And real talk, you could say that you wanted to do all these things here and there, but the point was, and the honest truth is that you would have never donated this stuff. You probably would have never gone and actually put all this money, the $600,000, into the AFTD, had it not been for Carl and Mudahar's video up to this point. And again, I can't begrudge anybody feeling a type of way about Gerard, about how the way this was all handled, how all of this unfolded. And if they decided to never donate to the Open Hand Foundation again, I cannot blame them. I honestly cannot blame them. And I think also a lot of the trust from a lot of YouTubers and content creators that were associated with Gerard or within that hemisphere, a lot of that grouping of the people from Normal Boots and all these other groups and stuff, I can't blame anybody for having their trust rocked with this as well, for the way that everybody reacted and for the way that everybody came off, and how they were more about quick to defend. And it wasn't really quick to defend for any sort of truth, because they really believed that their friend didn't do this. It was more that, it came off more as that everybody was more caring about their reputation rather than what the honest truth was. That's how it came off. It might not have been the motivation for some people. Again, you never really know with a lot of these things, especially if you don't know these people personally. But that's how it came off to a lot of people, from what I saw with the reactions on social media. So it is what it is. I think at some point, now that this news has come out, we might get another update from maybe Carl or Mudahar, or maybe some sort of other update afterwards with whatever might unfold at some point. Maybe, we get some sort of statement from Gerard at some point. I think he really does need to talk to people. I think he should. And I think that everybody, especially his fans, deserve an explanation and deserve some sort of discussion about it. But do I realistically think he's going to do so? No. And I think that if it was because he was talking to lawyers or to other people, I think that they probably would have advised him, or haven't already at this point, told him to not discuss it. I mean, really, realistically, when you think about it, what do you think the first thing's going to happen? Is he going to go do another Completionist video after this? What do you think the comments are going to be like with that? Yo, Gerard, go talk to us about this other stuff over here. What's up with the Open Hand Foundation? What's up with all this money from the golf tournament stuff that's still unaccounted for, that has no explanation according to all these reports that are public? Like, what's up with that, son? Like, nobody wants to hear about you completing games when you got all this other stuff to talk about with people. You know, and I can't blame people, individuals, or blame fans and viewers for probably feeling that way, let alone other people in the industry. Because I'll tell you right now, I saw some of the replies on Twitter for like different posts about this stuff from like various content creators and also various industry people, and they were not happy about it. And it's like, yeah, I totally feel where you're coming from. I totally feel the emotion here, and I get it. So we'll see what happens. I really don't think he's going to talk about it. If he does, I'll be amazed if it's anytime soon. If he talks about it, if he actually does make an effort to talk about it, and if he's even allowed to, maybe he does so down the line, but I doubt it for the time being. I think we'll get another update from Carl and Mudahar talking about this stuff and reminding people not to forget about some of these other points before we get a statement from Gerard, if he even addresses it. You know, and again, the other people that I feel bad for is that Friends Per Second podcast, because they looked at all this like unfold and stuff, and they were kind of caught in the middle of it, as well as everybody else that was like associated with them that had nothing to do with this charity stuff, or at least probably didn't even vouch for the charity. They probably knew about it and all this such, like, you know, all these like little things at the events that they used to do, but they probably weren't actually involved with it, like actually on the streams and stuff. But I feel bad for them. So again, we'll see what happens. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. It's a lot of heavy stuff, and we'll see how all that unfolds. And the same thing with all these other things that we discussed on this episodes of the podcast. But let me know some of your thoughts about everything down below in the comment section. Do you agree or disagree with me on the stuff that I talked about with Gerard and the Open Hand Foundation? Do you agree or disagree with me about the Game Awards open letter from the future class? The same thing with the Star Wars Rey movie. And how hyped are you for Grand Theft Auto 6? Tell me about all that stuff down below in the comment section. Once again, make sure you leave me a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and show some love. And with that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon.